Welcome to Audacity Works, a podcast inspired by and dedicated to the working artist, the creative entrepreneur, and generally, doing the damn thing. This exists on the premise that the world belongs to those who have the audacity to believe that their lives have value. This is for you. Welcome to Audacity Works. I am your host, Rachel Strickland, and this is episode number 154, and it's about value. But it's really about breaking contracts, but it's really about value. Did y'all like my little cicada sound effect there? Trying it out. My friend Max was like, I don't like how it just goes right from the intro into you talking. It's weird. You need a buffer. So I made a cicada. I'm actually asking, do you like it? But before we get into the meat of the episode, how are y'all doing? How are we doing? It's rough out there. It's rough. Are y'all okay? What do you need? Let's segue, tiny conversation on sidebar. I was meeting with my therapist. We don't meet like once a month or once every other month. And it had been a month. And she was like, so what does Rachel need? First of all, not thrilled with that wording. But okay, it's a decent question. So then I start listing off all the things I do to take care of myself. Like, I go for walks twice a day. New habit of mine. Been wanting to do it for years. Finally doing it. And it was easy. Drink a ton of water. I eat nutritious food. I sleep on a regular schedule. And fast forward, I was talking to my brilliant friend, Janelle Dinosaurs, about this conversation. And Janelle was like, but you didn't answer her question. Did she not point out that you didn't answer her question? And I said, no. And Janelle was like, well, I'm going to ask you. So what do you need? Because you didn't answer the question. And I'm like, okay, so there is a fictional cottage by the sea. I talk about this quite a lot with Manflesh. And in this fictional cottage by the sea, it's a place that I can go to be alone for 5 days to 2 weeks. And I can walk on the beach 3 times a day, and it's stocked with prepared food. So all I have to do is pop it into the oven, and there's loads of wine. So if I want to have wine, I can have limitless amounts. And there's a magical pill that if I take too much of this limitless amount, I'm instantly sober. And another very important aspect of the cottage by the sea is that time stands still while I'm there, so that no matter how long I stay, no one will miss me or realize that I've gone, and no one will need me, and I won't be letting anyone down or not being there. And I told Janelle about the cottage by the sea. And I said, but the cottage by the sea doesn't exist. Like, I can't have that. And they said, but it's important that you name what you need, and you're allowed to need things that you can't have. The important thing is, like, name it. And what you need is a break that has no consequences. My brain exploded. So I really mean that question. Like, what do y'all need, regardless of whether or not you can have it, or whether or not it's realistic, or whether or not it's mathematically possible that it exists? What do you need? And shout out to Janelle. I love you, Janelle. I don't think that you even listen to this podcast, but I love you. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to your Instagram, because if y'all don't have a Janelle, you should get one. There's only one, so we can't all have one. But we can all follow them. Okay, let's get into the meat of the episode. This is by request from a listener that I've decided not to name. I mean, I didn't ask her if I could. And just, we're going to keep her anonymous. But she wrote in and said, podcast topic request for a friend, backing out or canceling contracts. When is it worth it? Can you do it without burning a bridge? Let's talk about it. We'll take it one question at a time. When is it worth it? Well, let's consider the reasons that you want to back out of a contract. Number 1, at the tippity top, is it unsafe? Are you witnessing unsafe practices? Are your concerns being dismissed? If you are unsafe, then fuck the contract. Get out now. Another lens that you can look at this is if there is abuse happening of any kind, verbal, emotional, sexual, if there's harassment, get the fuck out. Fuck the contract. Will you burn a bridge by doing so? Yeah. Good riddance. You should probably get rid of that bridge. That's not a bridge that's worth maintaining. The troll underneath that bridge is extracting much too high of a price. Get out. So that's what I would call low level, like that's some low hanging fruit. Like, we could assume that, right? If you're unsafe, if you're being abused, like obviously fuck the contract and get out of there. I don't think that's what my friend was asking about. I think they were asking far more nuanced question. So I don't really know any details about this contract or the particulars of why the friend doesn't want to continue it. But is it worth it? It really depends on your value system. And of course, why you don't want to continue doing the contract in the first place. In general, when I sign a contract, I intend to fulfill that contract. It's also of note that me personally, I haven't signed any super long-term contracts. So the value here is your time, your life. Like, how long, what are we talking about here? If it is 2 months, right, that is a drop in the bucket. A drop in the bucket. If it's a year-long contract, that's not a drop in the bucket. I mean, it is. It is. And pretty much any amount of time is a drop in the bucket. But 2 months, if the conditions are safe and you just aren't enjoying the work, I would say that that's good information that you've gotten. You're like, okay, what don't you like about this contract? And can you fulfill the obligations that you've agreed to in order to maintain a positive working relationship with whoever hires you? Can you do so safely and not be harmed and just get some good information for yourself about what you didn't care for so that you can use that for the future? And if you did decide, like, I cannot do this anymore, it's not that I'm unsafe, I'm not being abused, I just don't like it for whatever reason, tell them. Tell them. Don't make up something that's not true to try and, like, protect a sense of comfort. Be honest with them. I think this is one of the reasons that conditions, particularly in, like, circus contracts, are so bad. Is because everyone is so afraid of offending the director or whomever that they just wrap their real reasons in cotton wool, and that director never gets any real information about what could be improved in their production. And I'll tell you the truth, a lot of directors don't care. They don't want to know. They don't want. They're like, shut up, stop talking to me. Yeah, that happens too. But it could make a difference. It could be the difference between the rest of this contract might be okay and not. So I do encourage frankness and clarity if you decide to end a contract. How can you do so while protecting the investment of the relationship? That's going to vary from person to person. And yeah, you might lose that relationship. Here the question is again of value. And here's where things get real tricky, because a lot of the folks that I'm talking to on this podcast are in entertainment, they're in the performing arts, and our industry is very unique in one particular way, especially, which is it is the only industry I know of where people are lined up to do your job for free. Did you hear me? I'll say it again. People are lined up to do your job for free. They would love, they're raising their hand, they're bouncing in their seats, they're saying, pick me. I'll do it. I'll light myself on fire. And because we're circus adjacent here, that could be literal. And this is the thing that really makes entertainment and the performing arts very unique. In what other industry are people lined up to do your job for less money or for nothing? And it's kind of not really productive to get mad at those people because it is the nature of art and the performing arts. It's just it comes with it. We identify with our art, and it becomes a status symbol to perform and like to get chosen, to be chosen, regardless of whether or not you're being compensated. And that's also another reason why we have such high turnover in this industry, is because no one gets into the arts to make a fortune. Like, I guess I shouldn't say no one because there's always outliers, but like, who do you know that became a whatever they are in the arts because they're like, I'm gonna get rich. I'm gonna get real rich from this hula hoop that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna get super stinking rich from lighting my arms on fire. Or I'm gonna get so rich in this Tiger Zentai suit crawling around a corporate party. That's not why we get into it. We get into it as a form of expression and identity, and that's why people will want to do your job for free. It's cool. It's fucking cool. So we get into it, and we're like, actually, I could make some money doing this, and at least it could pay for itself. So then we do that, and then that's when the real disillusionment hits, and you're like, oh, people are waiting to do this for free. People are doing this and taking the paid gigs that I wouldn't have hired them. Not up to you. And then people get disheartened, and eventually they quit. Obviously not everybody, but it happens a lot. It's a lot of turnover. And the reason that I'm bringing this up, if you want to hear more about it, I don't know why you would, because it is kind of disheartening, but I will link the episode that I've spoken about this before, which is about undercutting. I'll link that in the show notes. It's there for you if you want to hear it. But I think the real question here is about value. And I want you to stop and pause the podcast in a second. Unless you're driving, then just keep on driving, right? So what relationship do you want to have with your creative practice? Is it something that you want to make money off of? Is it something you want to make your entire living off of? Or is it something that you don't really want to involve the money-making aspect of your life with? Because all three of these questions have very different pathways. They require different strategies and different approaches. And if one of your answers is, I want to make money from my creative practice, and I want it to be a significant source of my income, then maintaining positive industry relationships is super important. And in that case, if you can safely and without harming yourself complete a contract and the length of time isn't going to steal your life away, then I would do that and gather the information that you have. Also, I know, and I did, and I meant what I just said, that it's important to maintain positive industry relationships, but not with people who suck. Like, fuck that. Why do we want to be in relationship with people who suck? We don't. So yeah, it would be nice if we could all get along. We already know that we can't all get along. So, the chips are going to fall where they may. Autonomy is sexy, as Maestro says. And if you're in a situation that's making you miserable and you don't have any agency to change it, then you can leave. You can leave. But it's always going to be a question of what is it that you value about this opportunity? And what is it that you value about your relationship with your creative practice? But I do want to take this sort of one step further. And to do so, I want to tell you about a conversation I witnessed online. I think it was on Facebook. I don't know. Yes, I still use Facebook. Whatever. Shut up. So the question was, it was pertaining to the burlesque industry, like intensely creative industry there. And the question was, do you or how much do you pay the stage kittens? If you don't know what a stage kitten is, they're an important part of a burlesque show, because somebody's got to come pick up the panties. Somebody's got to come pick up the bras. Someone's got to come get the props and the fans and the boas and the fake blood after the performers left the stage. And it can't just be a stagehand. It's got to be a kitten, because it's also part of the performance. And, you know, they end up being a backbone for the show. And the comment section was full of people like passionately talking like in favor of the stage kittens, and of course we pay them, and we pay them as much as the performers except for the headliners, and there's like so many comments, y'all. And the reason that I'm bringing this up has nothing to do with stage kittens or burlesque. It was the amounts, right? There was so much passion in these comments. It must have taken hours for this conversation to unfold. And the amounts in question are like $50 to $75. Like, it's not nothing, but why are we pouring so much passion and focus and arguing into something that is $50 to $75? And of course, I'm not saying don't pay the kittens. Of course, pay the fucking kittens. They're awesome. That's not what this is about. What this is about is that these are latte questions, my friends. These are $5 like chai latte questions. The real questions, the $5,000 questions are how can we make this way of performing more regenerative? How could we look through the lens of regenerative commerce and make this a healthier environment for everyone? Like, why are we arguing about $50? That is latte money. Those are scraps. I almost certainly got this metaphor from Ramit Sethi, by the way, who's a personal finance writer who I've been following for 15, 16 years. I'll link Ramit in the show notes. He's got consistently good shit and a snarky attitude. So I really enjoy his stuff. I've bought several of his courses, and they've done me right. Ramit has a lot of integrity, so I'll link Ramit. That I just want to give credit where credit's due. That's where I got the metaphor. I think he calls it like the $3 questions or the $3,000 questions. And we need to be making $3,000 questions. And when it comes to contracting your labor away, look at it from a $3,000 lens. Like, go ahead and zoom way out and ask yourself, is this good for me? Is this underpinning the relationship that I want to have with my creative practice? Is this being regenerative in my life? And as one final note, if you burn a bridge, not all bridges are burnt forever. I've been a black sheep before. I've been blacklisted by people before. Like, would not even speak to me, would not even say hello to me. And it hasn't happened much, because I'm generally pretty fucking mellow and easy to get along with, but it's happened a handful of times, and I attempted repairs in all of these cases. And in one, it didn't work, and I'm so glad it didn't work, because if it had, I would have continued a working relationship with this one individual, and that would definitely not have been the right call. It was a bridge that I should have thrown flowers on the ashes of that. And I do now. But some other bridges that got a little crispy, they were repaired years later, and it's all good. Like, the bridge is good. Relationships are not always that fragile. And if they are, maybe that's okay that they break. This is sounding a little like Woo Corner for October. I'm going to link Woo Corner for October. You don't have to subscribe to read it. You can just click on the link and read it wherever you are. You can subscribe, and I'd recommend it because I write really good emails. But I'll put that for you because it has something to do with this conversation. If something is like really fragile and if it's crumbling, then maybe just go ahead and let it crumble. All right, my friends, looking at the time, it's time for me to let you go. Thank you so much for listening, letting me perch in your ears, in your earbuds, or ride with you in the car. I'm enjoying the trip. If you have requests for future podcast episodes, you can reach me always on Instagram at Rachel Strickland Creative or on Patreon at Rachel Strickland Creative. This podcast, and indeed my entire person, is powered by Patreon. So I've got to give a shout out to my patrons for making this, and by this I mean me, possible, including this podcast. It would not exist without you. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your support. You're the real MVPs. So until next time, my friends, don't be afraid. Just know where the value is. And don't go back to sleep.